The Galactic Council meeting was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from 47 worlds sat in stunned silence as they watched the final reports from the Tau Ceti system. The Vorthak, creatures that had been the galaxy's nightmare for thousands of years, were now in human custody. But what terrified the aliens wasn't that humans had won. It was how easily they had won. 3 Vorthak hunters, Ambassador Taemin reported to the Council, all captured alive with minimal damage to human colonies. Total human casualties, 0. Kiltar's feathers were trembling. 0? That's impossible. The Vorthak have never been stopped without massive loss of life. The Vorthak have never been hunted by humans before, Taemin replied simply. On the main display, footage showed human scientists examining the captured aliens. The Vorthak were restrained but unharmed, being studied like any other dangerous species. "What are your people doing to them?" asked a crystal being, its voice high with worry. "Learning," Taemin said. "Dr. Sora's team is documenting their biology, psychology, and behavioral patterns. We're treating them exactly like we would treat any other apex predator that threatened human settlements," the reptilian delegate hissed nervously. "And then what? Will you release them?" Taemin's expression grew cold. "That depends on what we learn about their breeding population." Before anyone could ask what he meant, new information appeared on the displays. The captured Vorthak had been made to reveal the location of their main breeding ground in the Void Nebula. It wasn't just a hiding place. It was where their entire species reproduced and raised their young. General Chanwu's image appeared on the communication screen. He was reporting from his flagship as it approached the nebula with a massive human fleet. "Council members," he said formally, "we have located the primary Vorthak staging area. Our preliminary scans show approximately 300 adult Vorthak and an unknown number of juveniles." "You found their home?" Kiltar asked in amazement. "In thousands of years, no one has ever found where the Vorthak come from." "They never had proper motivation to look," General Chanwu replied. "We do." Dr. Boram appeared beside the general on screen. She was a behavioral specialist who had been studying the psychological profiles of the captured Vorthak. "The Vorthak aren't just hunters," she explained to the Council. "They're invasive predators. On their homeworld, they were kept in check by environmental factors and competing species. But when they learned to travel between stars, those limits disappeared." She brought up a holographic model showing Vorthak population growth over the centuries. "They've been spreading through the galaxy like a plague. Each generation is larger than the last. Each hunting pack is more aggressive. If we don't stop them now, in a few hundred years, there will be thousands of hunting packs." "So what do you intend to do?" asked the insect delegate. General Chanwu and Dr. Boram exchanged glances. When Chanwu spoke, his voice was calm but final. "We're going to solve the problem permanently." The council erupted in worried voices. Several delegates were asking questions at once, but Taemin held up his hand for silence. "Let me explain something about human history," he said. "On our world, we've dealt with many dangerous predators. Sometimes we learned to coexist with them. Sometimes we had to relocate them. And sometimes, when a species posed an ongoing threat to human communities, we had to eliminate that threat completely." He activated his own display, showing images from Earth's history. Wolves that attacked human settlements were hunted to extinction in many regions. Tigers that became man-eaters were tracked down and killed. Crocodiles that threatened communities were removed from the area. "But those were just animals," protested the crystal being. "The Vorthak are intelligent." "Intelligence doesn't change the basic equation," Taemin replied coldly. "The Vorthak hunt sentient species for sport. They will never stop. They can't be negotiated with or reformed. They are, by definition, an existential threat to galactic civilization." Captain Yunji's voice came over the communication system from her position near the Vorthak breeding ground. "General, we have completed our reconnaissance. The facility is heavily defended, but their defenses are designed to keep prey out, not to stop hunters from getting in." "Excellent," General Chanwu replied. "All units begin final approach. Remember, this is not a battle. This is pest control on a galactic scale. The word sent chills through the council chambers. The human fleet was approaching the Vorthak, home based not as an army but as exterminators. Dr. Boram continued her briefing. Our psychological analysis shows that Vorthak cannot modify their behavior. Hunting sentient species isn't something they choose to do, it's what they are. They're biologically programmed to kill intelligent life for pleasure. Like certain Earth species that are hardwired to hunt specific prey, Taymin added. You can't train a great white shark to become vegetarian. You can't teach a crocodile to be gentle with children, and you can't reform a Vorthak to stop hunting people. The alien delegates were beginning to understand the horrible logic of the human position. If the Vorthak couldn't change their nature, and if their nature was to hunt intelligent species for fun, then coexistence was impossible. There must be another way, pleaded the slug-like creature. Some form of containment? We considered that, Dr. Boram replied, but Vorthak are intelligent tool users. Any prison we built, they would eventually escape from. Any restricted area we established, they would eventually leave. The only permanent solution is elimination of the breeding population. General Chan Wu's fleet had reached the Void Nebula. The Vorthak breeding ground was a massive organic structure, part space station and part living creature. It pulsed with alien life and crawled with hundreds of the deadly predators. Beginning the operation, Chan Wu announced. All units, remember your training. We're not here to fight. We're here to solve a problem that has plagued the galaxy for millennia. The human attack was unlike anything the Vorthak had experienced. The humans didn't charge in with weapons blazing. Instead, they used precision strikes to disable the breeding facility's defenses, then deployed specialized weapons designed specifically for Vorthak biology. Captain Yunji led teams of specially trained soldiers into the facility. They moved, like professional pest control operators, systematically clearing each section of the structure. This is actually easier than dealing with some Earth species, she reported. The Vorthak are dangerous individually, but they don't have sophisticated group defense strategies. They're designed to hunt, not to fight off organized attackers. The operation took less than 6 hours. When it was over, the Vorthak breeding facility was silent. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years was extinct. Back in the council chambers, the alien delegates sat in shocked silence. The humans had just eliminated an entire intelligent species with the same calm efficiency they might use to clear out a wasp nest. Is it over? Kiltar asked quietly. The immediate threat is over, General Chan Wu confirmed. We'll continue monitoring for any surviving Vorthak, but our analysis indicates we've eliminated the entire breeding population. What about the 3 you captured? They'll live out their natural lives in a secure research facility, Dr. Boram replied. We'll continue studying them to make sure we understand their biology completely. But they can't reproduce, and they'll never hunt again. Ambassador Taymin looked around the council chamber at the frightened alien faces. I know this seems harsh to you, but sometimes the only way to protect innocent life is to eliminate the predators that threaten it. You solved a problem that had plagued us for millennia in less than a week, Kiltar said slowly. How? Taymin smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Because we're very good at dealing with dangerous animals. We've had millions of years of practice. The council meeting ended in silence. The Vorthak threat was over, but the aliens were beginning to understand something that terrified them more than any predator ever could. Humans weren't just another intelligent species. They were the species that had learned to hunt the hunters. The great hall of Nexus Prime Station buzzed with worried voices. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat in their floating chairs, all talking at once. Fear filled the air like smoke from a burning building. Ambassador Taymin sat quietly in the human section, watching the chaos. His advisor, Jin, leaned close to his ear. They're scared, she whispered. Really scared? Taymin nodded. He had never seen the Galactic Council like this. These beings ruled entire star systems. They commanded fleets that could destroy planets. But today, they looked like children, afraid of the dark. At the center of the hall, A hologram showed the wreckage of 3 worlds. What used to be busy colonies now looked like graveyards. Empty cities, silent space stations, millions of people simply gone. The Vorthak have struck again, announced Kiltar, the bird-like council leader. His voice cracked with fear. 3 more worlds. Gone in less than a week. Murmurs of terror rippled through the crowd. The Vorthak were legends of horror that had haunted the galaxy for thousands of years. They were massive creatures, bigger than most ships. Their skin was like black armor, and acid dripped from their mouths. They came from the empty spaces between stars, hunting for fun. "How many ships did they bring this time?" asked a reptilian delegate. "We don't know," Kiltar replied. "Our scouts never returned. The Vorthak don't just kill. They hunt. They play with their prey before the end comes." An insect-like being clicked its mandibles nervously. "My people remember the old stories. The Vorthak once hunted my homeworld for 3 months. They could have destroyed us in days, but they wanted to enjoy it. That was 800 years ago," said another delegate. "They're still out there, still hunting." Taemin listened to story after story. Each species had their own horror tales about the Vorthak. For some, it was recent attacks. For others, it was ancient history passed down through generations. But every single species feared them. The Vorthak didn't follow any rules. They didn't want territory or resources. They hunted because they enjoyed it. They were perfect predators who had never met anything that could threaten them. "We must evacuate the outer rim worlds," suggested a slug-like creature. "Pull everyone back to the core systems." "And then what?" snapped Kiltar. "Hide forever? The Vorthak will just follow us, they always do." "Maybe we could negotiate," said another voice. The hall went silent. Then bitter laughter filled the air. "Negotiate with the Vorthak?" Kiltar shook his head. "They don't talk. They hunt. That's all they've ever done." Taemin finally stood up. His movement caught attention because humans rarely spoke in council meetings. Most species still thought of humans as newcomers who didn't understand galactic politics. "What about a different approach?" Taemin said. All eyes turned to him. Some delegates looked curious. Others looked annoyed. "The human speaks," muttered a crystal being. "How amusing." Kiltar's feathers ruffled with impatience. "Ambassador Taemin, your species is very new to our galaxy. Perhaps you don't understand the situation. The Vorthak are not a political problem. They are a force of nature. Like a star going supernova or a black hole forming. You don't negotiate with such things, you just run and hope they don't notice you." "I understand," Taemin said calmly. "But on Earth, we've dealt with apex predators for millions of years. We've learned some things." This caused a stir of whispers. Several delegates made sounds that might have been laughter in their species. "Your world has predators?" asked the insect delegate. "How cute. Do they have sharp teeth?" "Some do," Taemin replied. "Others have different weapons, but we've learned to live with them. Sometimes we've even learned to hunt them." The whispers grew louder. Now some delegates were definitely laughing. "You hunt your predators?" Kiltar's voice was full of disbelief. "Your species fights creatures designed to kill?" "When we have to," Taemin said simply. A lizard-like being hissed with amusement. "Impossible. Apex predators don't get hunted, that's what makes them apex." Yejin stood up beside Taemin. She activated a small hologram projector. Images appeared in the air above their section. The other delegates leaned forward to look. The first image showed a massive white shark, its mouth full of razor teeth. The second showed a human in a small boat holding a fishing rod. "This is a great white shark," Yejin explained. "On our world, it's one of the ocean's top hunters. It can grow 20 feet long and bite through steel. For millions of years, nothing hunted it." She clicked to the next image. It showed humans on a boat pulling a great white shark out of the water, but we learned. The hall went quiet. Delegates stared at the images. Hyjin continued. "This is a saltwater crocodile. It can grow 23 feet long. Its bite is stronger than most industrial machines. It survived since the time of dinosaurs." The next image showed humans carefully capturing one of these giant reptiles. "We Learn to handle them too. More images followed. Tigers, bears, wolves. Each one was clearly a deadly predator, and each one was shown being studied, tracked, or carefully managed by humans. Your species lives with all of these? Asked the crystal being. We share our world with them, Taemin said. Some we avoid, some we study, some we hunt when they threaten our communities, but we've never just hidden from them. Interesting, Kiltar said slowly. But the Vorthak are not like your world's animals. They're intelligent, they use technology, they travel between stars. So do we, Taemin pointed out. Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red. A computer voice echoed through the hall. Attention. Long-range sensors have detected Vorthak fleet movement. Estimated target, human colonies in the Tau Ceti system. Time to arrival, 72 hours. The hall erupted in panic. Delegates were shouting, some were already heading for the exits. Several species began broadcasting emergency evacuation orders to their own worlds. Kiltar's voice cut through the noise. The humans' colonies are doomed. We must pull back our own people before the Vorthak spread their hunt. Taemin remained calm. He pressed a button on his communication device. Admiral Kyung-soo, this is Ambassador Taemin. Please confirm Protocol Apex authorization. A voice crackled back immediately. Authorization confirmed, sir. All units are moving into position. Taemin looked around the hall. Most delegates were still in panic mode, but some had stopped to listen. You're going to fight them? Kiltar asked in disbelief. The Vorthak? We're going to do what we do best, Taemin replied. We're going to learn about them. This is madness, said the lizard delegate. Your colonies will be destroyed. Your people will be consumed. The Vorthak have never been defeated. Maybe, Taemin agreed. But they've also never hunted humans before. Hyejin was already gathering her materials. We need to get back to Earth Command. The real work is about to begin. As they prepared to leave, Kiltar called out. How long do you think your colonies will last? Taemin paused at the doorway. Give us 72 hours. If we're wrong, you'll know soon enough. And if you're right? Taemin smiled, but there was something cold in his expression. Then the galaxy is about to learn why humans became the dominant species on a world full of monsters. The two humans left the hall, leaving behind a room full of worried aliens. None of them believed that humans could succeed where entire galactic civilizations had failed for thousands of years. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. The Luna Command Center was buzzing with activity. Officers moved quickly between computer stations, their faces focused and serious. Giant screens showed star maps, ship positions, and data streams from across human space. Captain Du Young stood, in the center of it all, watching the displays with calm eyes. His ship, the Soul's Vengeance, was already moving toward the outer colonies, but this wasn't going to be a normal battle. Sir, we have confirmation, reported Lieutenant Wu Jin. 3 Vorthak hunting ships moving toward Tau Ceti at high speed. They'll reach our colonies in 68 hours. Perfect, Du Young said quietly. Are our observation posts ready? Yes, sir. Dr. Sora has teams stationed throughout the system. They're equipped with the new sensor packages. Dr. Sora looked up from her workstation. She was a small woman, with sharp eyes who had spent the last 5 years studying every piece of Vorthak data the humans could find. Most of it came from the wreckage they left behind, but she had learned a lot. Captain, she said, I need to brief your officers on what we're actually dealing with. Du Young nodded. All senior staff to briefing room 2, now. Minutes later, a dozen officers sat around a metal table. Dr. Sora stood at the front with her presentation ready. Forget everything the Galactic Council told you about the Vorthak, she began. Yes, they're dangerous, yes, they're intelligent, but they're not magical. They're not unstoppable, they're animals. She activated the holographic display. A massive creature appeared above the table. It was 20 meters long, covered in black, armor-like skin. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth and acid dripped from specialized glands. This is a Vorthak hunter, Sora explained. Notice the body shape. the way it moves, the hunting behaviors we've observed. She clicked to the next image. Now a great white shark floated next to the Vorthak. Look familiar? She asked. The officers leaned forward. The similarities were obvious once you looked for them. Both were long, streamlined predators. Both had multiple rows of teeth. Both attacked with sudden, overwhelming force. The Vorthak evolved in space, Sora continued, but they follow the same patterns as apex predators everywhere. They're ambush hunters. They rely on surprise and overwhelming force. They're used to prey that runs away in panic. What about their intelligence? Asked Wu Jin. That's actually their weakness, Sora replied. They're smart enough to use tools and technology, but they still think like predators. They still follow the same hunting patterns their species has used for millions of years. Captain Du Young was studying the display carefully. You're saying we should treat them like any other dangerous animal? Exactly. On Earth, we've learned to deal with creatures that could easily kill us. We use our brains instead of trying to match them for strength or speed. Sora brought up video footage from Earth. It showed scientists tracking tigers with radio collars, researchers studying great white sharks from protective cages, wildlife experts relocating dangerous crocodiles. We don't fight these animals head-on, she explained. We study their behavior. We learn their patterns. We figure out how they think. Then we use that knowledge to stay safe, or, when necessary, to control them. The Vorthak have been successful. For so long because no one has ever studied them this way, Sora continued. Every species just runs away or tries to fight them with brute force. No one has treated them like what they really are. Very dangerous, very smart animals. Du Young smiled for the first time all day. So what's the plan? We don't meet them. In open battle, Sora said. We observe them. We learn how they hunt. We study their patterns. We figure out what they expect their prey to do, and then we do something different. On the main screen, she showed a map of the Tau Ceti system. It was full of asteroids, space stations, and shipping lanes. This is perfect hunting ground for them, she said. Lots of places to hide, lots of targets to chase. They'll spread out and start their hunt, expecting our people to panic and run. But we won't run, De Young said. No, we'll watch. We'll learn, and when we understand how they think, we'll turn their own instincts against them. Lieutenant Wu Jin raised his hand. What if they're smarter than we think? What if they realize what we're doing? Sora clicked to another image. This one showed a pack of wolves hunting deer. Wolves are incredibly intelligent, she said. They use complex strategies, they communicate, they adapt to different situations, but they still follow predictable patterns because they're predators. Their intelligence serves their hunting instincts, it doesn't replace them. The Vorthak are the same way. Their technology and intelligence make them better hunters, but they're still following the same basic predator behaviors that evolved over millions of years. She turned to face the officers directly. Here's what's going to happen. The Vorthak will enter our system expecting easy prey. They'll see our ships and colonies and think they know exactly how this hunt will go. They'll spread out to cut off escape routes. They'll attack what they think are the weakest targets first. They'll play with their prey because that's what makes hunting fun for them. And we'll let them think they're in control while we gather data on every move they make. Du Young was already thinking like a hunter himself. How long before we have enough information to act? Depends on how typical they are, Sora replied. If they follow standard Vorthak hunting patterns, we should understand their behavioral profile within 24 hours of first contact. And then, Sora's expression grew cold. Then we show them what happens when apex predators meet the species that learn to hunt apex predators. The briefing ended and officers hurried back to their stations. The Soul's vengeance was already at the edge of the Tau Ceti system, but it wasn't moving to defend the colonies. Instead, it was positioning itself to observe. Throughout the system, other human ships were doing the same thing. They were setting up sensor networks, observation posts, and communication relays. But none of them were preparing for a traditional battle. Captain Du Young stood on his bridge watching the tactical display. His crew worked quietly around him, making final preparations for Protocol Apex. "Sir," called his communications officer, "we're getting messages from the colonies. They want to know why we're not moving to protect them." "Tell them we are protecting them," Du Young replied, "just not the way anyone expects." "What if we're wrong, sir?" Wu Jin asked quietly. "What if the Vorthak are too different from Earth predators?" Du Young thought about that for a moment, then he smiled. "Lieutenant, my grandfather used to hunt tigers in the mountains of Korea. When I was young, I asked him how anyone could be brave enough to hunt something so dangerous." "What did he tell you?" "He said the secret wasn't being brave. The secret was understanding that even the most dangerous predator is still just an animal, and humans have been outsmarting animals for a very long time." On the long-range sensors, 3 dark shapes appeared at the edge of the system. The Vorthak had arrived. "All stations, this is Captain Du Young," he announced over the ship's communication system. "Protocol Apex is now active. Remember, we're not here to fight. We're here to learn. Stay calm, follow your training, and trust the plan." The hunt was about to begin. But for the first time in galactic history, the Vorthak weren't the only ones hunting. The Vorthak hunting pack entered the Tau Ceti system like dark storms moving through space. Their ships were massive and organic-looking, covered in the same black armor as their bodies. Acid trails followed them, marking their path through the void. Pack leader. Gorth felt the familiar thrill of a new hunt beginning. This system was perfect. Plenty of small prey scattered across multiple worlds, lots of asteroids and debris to provide cover for stalking. The soft mammals called humans would provide good sport for several weeks. "Spread formation," Gorth commanded his packmates. "Drive the prey toward the inner worlds. Let them think they can escape to their home planet." But something was wrong. The Vorthak had been hunting for thousands of years, and prey always behaved the same way. They panicked. They sent desperate messages for help. They tried to flee in random directions. The humans weren't doing any of that. Colonel Minho watched the Vorthak ships from his hidden position in the asteroid belt. His Marines were spread throughout the system, but they weren't preparing defensive positions. They were setting up observation posts. "Interesting," he muttered into his communicator. "Dr. Sora, are you seeing this?" Dr. Sora's voice came back immediately. "Yes, they're following classic pack predator behavior. Look at their formation. It's designed to herd prey, not to attack directly." The Vorthak ships moved slowly through the outer system, checking every asteroid and space station. They were being methodical, patient. This was how persistence hunters worked. They didn't rush. They just kept pressure on their prey until it made mistakes. "They're not trying to kill us quickly," observed Engineer Yuna from her hiding spot near a mining station. "They want to play with us first." "Exactly what Dr. Sora predicted," Minho replied. "All units maintain observation positions. Do not engage. Let them show us their patterns." Pilot Jaewon was flying his fighter through the asteroid field, but not in the way the Vorthak expected. Instead of fleeing toward the inner system, he was moving parallel to their advance, staying just out of direct sensor range. "This is weird," he reported. "One of them just passed within a few kilometers of me, but it didn't attack, it just looked at me." "Pack behavior," Dr. Sora explained over the communication network. "The individual hunters don't make kills on their own. They wait for the pack leader to coordinate the attack. They're studying us just like we're studying them." The Vorthak continued their slow advance. They checked every hiding place, investigated every ship signature, but they didn't attack anything. To them, this was still the scouting phase of the hunt. Pack leader Gorth was puzzled. The humans weren't behaving like normal prey. They weren't running toward their colonies in panic. They weren't sending desperate calls for evacuation. Some of their ships were actually moving closer to his pack instead of away. "Strange mammals," he hissed to himself. "Perhaps they're too stupid to understand the danger." But that didn't feel right either. The humans had technology. They had organized settlements. They weren't primitive, so why weren't they afraid? Colonel Minho was learning more about the Vorthak every hour. His Marines had been tracking the alien hunters for 18 hours now, and patterns were becoming clear. "Dr. Sora," he reported, "they definitely use pack tactics, but there's a clear hierarchy. The largest ship, that's got to be the pack leader, stays in the center while the others spread out." "Confirmed," Sora replied. And notice how they communicate. Short-range chemical signals between nearby ships, but longer. Commands come from the leader. Just like wolves, Minho said with satisfaction. The Alpha directs the pack, but individual hunters make their own decisions about small prey. Engineer Yuna had been watching one Vorthak ship for hours. This one keeps returning to the same areas. It's marking territory, isn't it? Probably, Sora agreed. They're claiming this system as their hunting ground. In their minds, everything here now belongs to them. The humans continued to observe and learn. They cataloged the Vorthak's movement patterns, their communication methods, their hunting strategies. Every hour brought new understanding, but the Vorthak were growing impatient. Pack leader Gorth finally decided to test these strange humans. He selected a small cargo ship that was trying to move between asteroids. Instead of his usual overwhelming attack, he decided to stalk it first. The human ship was piloted by a merchant named Sung Ho, who was actually a retired military officer. When his sensors detected the massive Vorthak ship following him, he didn't panic. Instead, he followed his training. Control, this is Cargo 7, he said calmly. I have a Vorthak hunter on my tail, beginning evasive maneuvers. But Sung Ho's evasive maneuvers weren't random. He was leading the Vorthak hunter toward a prepared position where Colonel Minho's Marines were waiting with sensors and cameras. The Vorthak ship followed eagerly, thinking it was chasing panicked prey. But as it moved deeper into the asteroid, more human ships appeared around it. Not to attack, just to observe from multiple angles. Pack leader Gorth realized he was surrounded, but not in the way he expected. The humans weren't preparing to fight. They were just watching, studying him like he was some kind of specimen. For the first time in his long life, Gorth felt something he didn't recognize. The humans weren't acting like prey. They were acting like researchers. All units, commanded Colonel Minho, begin Phase 2. Show them we're not afraid, but don't threaten them directly. We want to see how they respond to confident prey. Human ships throughout the system began changing their behavior. Instead of hiding or fleeing, they started moving in organized patterns. They approached Vorthak ships, just close enough to be detected, then moved away before any attack could begin. This was something the Vorthak had never experienced. Prey was supposed to either run in terror or fight desperately. These humans were doing neither. Pilot Jaewon flew his fighter directly across the path of a Vorthak hunter, close enough that they could see each other clearly. The alien ship turned to follow him, but Jaewon didn't speed up in panic. He just maintained a steady course that kept him just out of attack range. It's following me, he reported, but it seems confused. It's not attacking even though it has clear shots. Perfect, Dr. Sora said with satisfaction. You're disrupting its hunting instincts. It knows you're prey, but you're not behaving like prey, so it doesn't know what to do. All across the Tau Ceti system, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships were engaging with Vorthak hunters, but not in the way either species had ever experienced before. The humans were treating the aliens like dangerous wild animals, keeping them at safe distances while learning their behaviors. The Vorthak, meanwhile, were becoming increasingly frustrated. The hunt should have been simple by now. The prey should be running or fighting. Instead, the humans seemed to be studying them. Pack leader Gorth called his hunters back to formation. This wasn't going according to plan. The mammals weren't behaving like any prey species he had ever encountered. New strategy, he announced to his pack. We attack the largest target. Show them what happens to prey that doesn't run. The 3 Vorthak ships formed up and headed toward the main human colony on Tau Ceti Prime. This would end the confusion. Once the mammals saw their main settlement being destroyed, they would remember how to be proper prey. But as they approached the colony, they found something unexpected. The human settlement was defended, but not with weapons pointed outward. Instead, the humans had built elaborate sensor arrays pointing at the approaching Vorthak ships. Colonel Minho smiled as he watched the aliens approach. They're about to give us the best data yet. All units, prepare to record everything. We're about to see how they attack a hardened target. The real hunt was just beginning, but the Vorthak were starting to realize they weren't the only ones hunting. News of the strange events in the Tau Ceti system spread through galactic communication networks faster than light itself. In the Nexus Prime station, representatives from 47 worlds watched the feeds in stunned silence. The humans weren't losing. They weren't even fighting in any traditional sense. Instead, they seemed to be conducting some kind of scientific experiment with the most feared predators in the galaxy. "This is impossible," muttered Kiltar, his feathers standing on end. "The Vorthak should have consumed 3 colonies by now." On the main display, they could see human ships moving in careful formations around the Vorthak hunters. The aliens were clearly getting frustrated, but the humans remained calm and methodical. Admiral Kyung-Soo stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display with the patience of an experienced hunter. His fleet had been gathering in the outer system for the past day, but they hadn't joined the battle yet. They were waiting for the right moment. "Sir," reported Intelligence Officer Da-un, "we now have complete behavioral profiles on all 3 Vorthak hunters. Dr. Sora was right. They follow predictable patterns." "Show me," Kyung-Soo said. Da-un activated the holographic display. It showed the movement patterns of the Vorthak ships over the past 30 hours, traced in glowing lines. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the pack leader's track. "Every 4 hours, it returns to this exact position to reassess the hunt. Every single time. And the other 2? They patrol in expanding spirals, but they always return to support the pack leader when it calls. Watch this." She replayed several sequences, where the pack leader had summoned its hunters. Each time the response was identical. The 2 smaller ships abandoned whatever they were doing and rushed to join their leader. "It's like watching wolves," Admiral Kyung-Soo observed. "Or orcas. Pack predators all follow similar patterns." "Sergeant." Il-sung's voice came over the communication system from his position near the main colony. "Sir, the Vorthak are getting angry. They just made their first real attack run on the settlement." "What happened?" "Exactly what Dr. Sora predicted. They expect the attack to cause panic. But our people just documented everything and pulled back to secondary positions. The Vorthak destroyed some empty buildings and then waited for us to react with fear." "But you didn't." "No, sir. We treated it like any other predator test. They're probing our defenses, trying to understand our behavior just like we're studying theirs." Admiral Kyung-Soo smiled grimly. "The difference is we're better at it than they are." On the Vorthak command ship, Pack Leader Gorth was experiencing something his species had no word for. Confusion mixed with a growing uneasiness. The humans were not responding to any of the standard hunting tactics. When his pack attacked their colony, the mammals should have panicked and scattered. Instead, they had calmly evacuated to prepared positions and continued watching the Vorthak with their strange sensors. When his hunters stalked individual human ships, the prey should have fled toward the inner system where they could be cornered. Instead, the humans seemed to be leading his pack in circles, always staying just out of range. Most disturbing of all, the humans were clearly communicating with each other about Vorthak movements. They knew where his pack was at all times and they were coordinating their responses. "Pack leader," reported one of his hunters, "the mammals are not behaving correctly. They show no fear." "I can see that," Gorth snarled. "Change tactics. We attack their largest ship directly. That will teach them to fear us." But when the Vorthak focused on Admiral Kyung-Soo's flagship, they found it surrounded by a complex formation of smaller ships. The humans weren't trying to protect their admiral. They were using him as bait. "All ships," Admiral Kyung-Soo announced calmly. "The Vorthak are committing to an attack on our position. This is exactly what we've been waiting for. Execute Plan Mammal." Plan Mammal was based on tactics used by Earth's most persistent hunters. Early humans who had hunted creatures much larger and more dangerous than themselves. The key was patience, coordination, and understanding your prey's behavior better than it understood yours. As the 3 Vorthak ships moved in to attack the flagship, human vessels appeared from hiding spots throughout the system. But they didn't attack directly. Instead, they began herding the aliens toward a prepared killing ground in the asteroid belt. Intelligence Officer Da-un was tracking the Vorthak movements in real time. "They're following the predicted path," she reported. All 3 ships are moving toward Grid 7, exactly as we calculated. Excellent, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. Sergeant Il-sung, are your people ready? Yes, sir. We've turned the asteroid field into the galaxy's largest trap. The Vorthak won't even realize what's happening until it's too late. The human plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to match the Vorthak's strength or speed, they used the aliens' own hunting instincts against them. The Vorthak expected prey to flee toward safety, so the humans fled, but toward danger, not away from it. As the chase continued, more human ships joined the formation. They weren't random reinforcements. Each ship had a specific role in the HFY plan. Some carried advanced sensors to track Vorthak movements. Others had specialized equipment designed to exploit weaknesses Dr. Sora had identified in Vorthak biology. Pack leader Gorth began to realize something was wrong when he noticed the human ships weren't trying to escape the system. They were leading his pack deeper into the asteroid field, into terrain that would limit the Vorthak's mobility advantage. This is a trap, he finally understood. But by then it was too late. The asteroid field had been carefully prepared over the past day. Hidden throughout the rocks were sensor networks, communication relays, and weapon systems. The humans had turned the entire region into a hunting ground, with themselves as the hunters. Now, Admiral Kyung-soo said quietly, what happened next was unlike any battle the galaxy had ever seen. The humans didn't attack the Vorthak ships directly. Instead, they disabled them with surgical precision, targeting specific systems that Dr. Sora had identified as vulnerable. The Vorthak found their weapons offline, their engines failing, their communication systems jammed. But they weren't being destroyed. They were being captured. What is happening? Gorth demanded as his ship's systems shut down one by one. His answer came in the form of human boarding parties. But these weren't warriors coming to fight. They were scientists and technicians, armed with sensors and research equipment. Sergeant Il-sung led the first team onto the Vorthak command ship. He moved with the careful confidence of someone who had studied dangerous animals his entire career. Remarkable, he said into his communicator as he observed the Vorthak crew. They're actually more confused than aggressive. They don't understand what's happening to them. Dr. Sora's voice came back excited. Perfect. We need to document everything. This is the first time anyone has observed a live Vorthak behavior in a controlled environment. The boarding teams spread throughout the Vorthak ships not as conquerors but as researchers. They studied the aliens' technology, their biology, their behavior patterns. They treated the Vorthak exactly like wildlife biologists studying a newly discovered species. Pack leader Gorth found himself surrounded by humans who were clearly unafraid of him. They pointed strange devices at him, took samples of his acid, secretions, and made notes about his responses to different stimuli. What are you? He demanded in his own language. One of the humans, a small female who seemed to be in charge, looked at him with the same expression human scientists used when studying interesting specimens. We're researchers, Dr. Sora replied in perfect Vorthak, and you're about to help us learn how to deal with your entire species. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council watched the feeds in shocked silence. The Vorthak, creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, were being studied like laboratory animals. How? Whispered Kiltar. How is this possible? Ambassador Taemin, who had been quietly monitoring the situation, finally spoke. It's simple, he said. The Vorthak are apex predators, but they've never encountered a species that specializes in hunting apex predators. They're dangerous, but they're still just animals. And humans have been dealing with dangerous animals for millions of years. On his flagship, Admiral Kyung-soo received a message from Earth Command. Mission accomplished, sir. We have 3 live Vorthak specimens and complete behavioral data. What are your orders? Kyung-soo looked at the tactical display, where human ships now surrounded the disabled Vorthak vessels. The creatures that had haunted galactic nightmares for thousands of years were now research subjects. Signal the Galactic Council, he said. Tell them the Vorthak problem has been solved. and prepare a full report on our methods. I think the galaxy is going to want to learn how we did this. The hunt was over, but for the first time in galactic history, it was the predators who had been captured. 6 months after the elimination of the Vorthak, the Galactic Council convened for a special session. The topic was humanity's request for a new role in galactic civilization. Representatives from all 47 worlds were present, but the atmosphere was very different from their previous meetings. President Nam June of Earth stood at the central podium, flanked by Dr. Hyun Woo and the new human ambassador, Si-eun. The humans looked calm and professional, but every alien in the chamber was nervous. Honored delegates, President Nam June began. 6 months ago, humanity proved that the Vorthak threat could be eliminated. Today we want to discuss how we can help protect the galaxy from future threats. Kiltar shifted uncomfortably in his floating chair. President Namjoon, we are grateful for your species intervention, but many of us have concerns about human methods. I understand, Namjoon replied. Dr. Hyun-woo, would you please explain the science behind our approach? Dr. Hyun-woo activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared above the assembly. Vast oceans, dense forests, and creatures that made many delegates visibly uncomfortable. What you need to understand, Dr. Hyun-woo began, is that Earth is what we call a death world. Life there didn't evolve in the relatively safe conditions found on most habitable planets. The display showed Earth's timeline with emphasis on the major extinction events. Our planet has experienced 5 mass extinctions. Each time, over 70% of all species died. The survivors had to be incredibly tough, adaptable, and competitive just to continue existing. Images of Earth's apex predators filled the display. Great white sharks, saltwater crocodiles, polar bears, tigers, and dozens of other creatures that could easily kill a human. These are just some of the predators my species evolved alongside, Dr. Hyun-woo continued. We didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being the strongest or fastest. We became dominant by being the smartest hunters. A crystal being clicked nervously. But surely your world has safe areas, peaceful regions. Dr. Hyun-woo smiled grimly. Our oceans contain creatures that could swallow your entire spacecraft. Our forests have bears that weigh 800 kilograms and can run faster than your ground vehicles. Even our smaller predators, like wolves or leopards, are capable of killing multiple humans working together. How did your species survive? Asked the insect delegate. By becoming better predators than anything else on our world, Dr. Hyun-woo replied simply. We learned to hunt in coordinated groups. We developed tools and weapons. We studied our prey until we understood their behavior better than they understood it themselves. President Namjoon took over the presentation. What Dr. Hyun-woo is explaining is that dealing with the Vorthak wasn't unusual for us. It was just another day at the office. He activated a new display showing human settlements on Earth, surrounded by wilderness full of dangerous animals. Even today, human children learn to identify dangerous species, understand predator behavior, and respond appropriately to threats. What seems like incredible knowledge to you is basic education for us. Are you saying, Kiltar asked slowly, that every human is trained to deal with apex predators? Not trained, Ambassador Si-eun interjected. It's cultural knowledge passed down through thousands of generations. We've been dealing with creatures that could kill us for our entire evolutionary history. She brought up recordings from the Vorthak incident. When our people encountered the Vorthak, they didn't see unstoppable monsters. They saw large, intelligent predators that followed predictable patterns. Every human knows how to deal with that type of threat. The alien delegates watched footage of human colonists calmly evacuating while Vorthak ships attacked their settlements. There was no panic, no chaos, just organized, methodical responses to a dangerous situation. Your people show no fear, observed the reptilian delegate. Fear is useful, Si-eun replied, but panic kills. We've learned that the best way to survive dangerous predators is to stay calm, think clearly, and use your intelligence. But what about compassion? Asked the slug-like creature. You eliminated an entire intelligent species. President Namjoon's expression grew serious. That's where you misunderstand us. We have great compassion for innocent life. The Vorthak hunted sentient beings for sport. They would never have stopped. Sometimes protecting innocent life requires eliminating the predators that threaten it. Dr. Hyunwoo brought up new images, Earth's wildlife conservation programs. We don't kill predators for fun or out of hatred. When possible, we relocate them, study them, even protect them. But when a predator poses an ongoing threat to human communities, we deal with it permanently. You manage your predators, Kiltar said with dawning understanding. Exactly, Namjoon confirmed. Every dangerous species on Earth exists in balance with human civilization because we actively manage that balance. Some species we protect, some we study, some we control, and some, unfortunately, we eliminate. Which brings us to our proposal, Ambassador Si-un said. The galaxy has many threats besides the Vorthak. Space pirates, rogue AI, aggressive species from unexplored regions. Most galactic civilizations handle these threats by hiding or running away. What are you suggesting? Asked the crystal being. That humanity takes on the role of galactic predator management, Si-un replied. When threats emerge that other species can't handle, we deal with them using methods that come naturally to us. The council chamber fell silent. The implications of the human offer were staggering. You want to become the galaxy's hunters, Kiltar said quietly. We want to become the galaxy's protectors, President Namjoon corrected. But yes, that means hunting down threats that endanger innocent life. A new voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. It was a delegate from one of the newer member species. What guarantee do we have that humans won't turn their hunting skills on us? President Namjoon smiled, and for the first time there was genuine warmth in his expression. Because you're not predators. You're not threats to innocent life. Humans have lived alongside thousands of non-threatening species on Earth for millions of years. We only hunt creatures that hunt others. But how do we know you won't change your minds? The delegate pressed. Dr. Hyunwoo answered this time. Because it would be inefficient. Human civilization thrives in diverse, stable ecosystems. We have no interest in eliminating species that contribute to galactic civilization. We only target problems that threaten the stability of that ecosystem. Think of us as galactic wildlife managers, Ambassador Si-un added. Our job is to maintain the balance that allows all species to thrive safely. The vote was close, but the Council ultimately accepted humanity's proposal. Over the following months, human ships began patrolling the galactic rim, dealing with threats that other species couldn't handle. A year later, Ambassador Si-un stood in the same council chambers, delivering a report on human activities. Pirate organizations eliminated 7. Rogue AI networks shut down. 3. Aggressive species negotiated into peaceful coexistence. 12. Threats requiring permanent elimination. 1. What was the eliminated threat? Asked Kiltar. A swarm intelligence that consumed other intelligent species to add their knowledge to its collective mind. Si-un replied matter-of-factly. Negotiation was impossible. Relocation was impractical. So we treated it like any other invasive species. The casual way she described eliminating an entire swarm intelligence made several delegates uncomfortable, but none of them argued. The galaxy was safer with humans managing its predators. After the meeting, Kiltar approached Si-un privately. I have to ask, he said, what would happen if humanity ever encountered a threat it couldn't handle? Si-un thought about this seriously. That's possible, I suppose. But if there's something out there dangerous enough to threaten humans, then it's definitely too dangerous for anyone else to handle. So what would you do? Si-un smiled with the same cold confidence that had become characteristic of human diplomats. The same thing we've always done with threats too dangerous to ignore. We'd study it until we understood it better than it understood itself. Then we'd hunt it down and eliminate it. She paused at the doorway. The thing about being from a death world, Kiltar, is that it teaches you a very simple truth. There's always something out there that wants to kill you. The secret to survival isn't avoiding those things, The secret is becoming better at killing than anything that might try to kill you. As Cian left, Kiltar looked out the station windows toward the distant Earth. Somewhere out there was a blue world covered in oceans full of great white sharks, continents prowled by massive predators, and skies dominated by hunting birds. And somehow the small bipedal mammals who lived there had become the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they were the only species that had spent millions of years learning how to hunt everything that was stronger and faster than they were. The galaxy was safer now. But Kiltar wasn't sure if that was comforting or terrifying.